It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, welcome back. It is the unofficial 40 podcast as the bye week is past us, thank God. And we finally got some football other than Texas to talk about. Not that we're crapping on the Texas win. It's just, my God, it's been a while now. It's been several weeks, it seems, since OU last played a football game, and I'm tired of breaking down the overtime period, even though it was a nice win, even though Spencer Rattler played his ass off in overtime. It's been a week of talk, or 2 weeks of talk now. I think Lincoln Riley, with our Zoom call with him yesterday, guys, he just kind of was going over the same thing. We hope the offense gets better. We feel like we made some progress coming out of that game.
Don't forget about the good vibes, though.
The good vibes are there, but I want to see it Saturday. I want to see it at TCU. Bob Brisbillo will be representing the site in Fort Worth. Eddie
Hopefully
and
doesn't have another scene like you did last week.
Okay. Eddie and I will be.
I'm just saying that because he's not here yet.
We'll be here with your post-game pod and all the good stuff, just tracking things down. So in the year of COVID, this is what we do. So welcome in Josh McQuiston to the program. Josh, how are we doing today?
I'm good, guys. I mean, are we going to talk about OU against NA? I mean, do we want to break down that one a little bit, or what are we doing?
Bye. It's against bye.
Against the bye?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that sounds culturally insensitive, so I'm a little uncomfortable.
Well, we did.
I thought we might lead off with the good news for David Boren.
Okay. You want to? He and Trip Hall. You want to go on that?
No, I have no comment.
Good. Because he can probably still shut us down. Anyway,
Try it.
we did have almost a near catastrophe yesterday, but Sugars did not shut down.
Thank God. Whew.
It was a hoax.
That was a hit and miss afternoon. Talk about just the emotions. I mean, I haven't said this in a while, but I mean, I did beat COVID, and the emotions of beating COVID don't even compare to the emotions of finding out that Sugar's possibly closed.
You beat it once; it could come back.
Oh, I'd beat it again. I'm not going to go full OBJ right now, but I think we have a mutual respect for each other.
Are you growing a bedlam stash right now? What's going on with you?
Just living life, you know. I don't really know what's going on.
You've got handlebar mustache, Eddie.
Trying to, at
talking
least.
to you here.
Trying
today.
to. I don't think it's going too well, though.
I am preparing for Big Trash Day coming this weekend. That's my I can't go cover the football game, so I'm domesticated. Like, that's the big news in my world this week. It's Big Trash Day on. Josh is gonna love him
tell you,
some
that
Big
is
Trash
unfortunate.
Day. Josh, you gotta love Big Trash Day, right?
No, this has been a tough reality in the rental house. The Big Trash Day, they're more strict in the area in which I live now than they were in the old one. Like, literally, my neighborhood, I could put a washer out there on one day and a dryer on the next, and they were going to take it. Like, it was fine. But this one, like, if it's not wrapped just the way they want it or placed just where they want it, they will leave that shit behind. So yes, Big Trash Day is a big deal. It absolutely is.
Josh is rich now. Is he just going to leave the site?
Oh, good. Josh is absolutely not rich.
I can't wait for that post on the boards.
Yeah.
Josh doesn't even need us anymore. He's probably not even going to work anymore. He's just going to stay around and take our money.
People, I had to have my knee drained yesterday so I could stay on my feet.
What?
To go watch more games yesterday. I had to have a cortisone shot yesterday.
My
no,
God.
Are you going to be wearing a knee brace when you go out to games? Like the over-the-pants knee brace?
Oh, that's so bad. That's so bad.
Just go ahead and get those socks and Birkenstocks ready to go.
You already have a couple reporters that go limping around at high school games.
Yeah, no kidding. Some locally.
I mean, you'd have to go to a game first to do that.
Should you need to wear pants over your brace, I found the store that can do that, and that's Duluth Trading. That's where fat people go to feel good about their clothes. That was a.
Is this affecting your workouts? Is this what you're telling us? You're fat now?
No, hell no, I'm not fat, but I had to go get it. We're doing family pictures, so I was looking around at the mall, and so I'm going trying to find a few shirts for myself, and it was there was a Duluth next to the other one, so I was like, oh, I'll go in there and see what they have. I'd never been in one, and so I go in there, and like in Duluth, I'm like a slim fit and all these. And I'm like, I've never been a slim fit in my whole life. Like, I'm a big guy. That doesn't make any sense. And like anything like tall in a normal store fits me great. Like, go to Banana, and if there's a tall demarcation, it's great. Going to Duluth, it looks like a damn sleep shirt. Like, it's huge. I look like
the ones with the commercials like, "Do you feel like your nuts are being hugged by a bear?"
Absolutely. Yep. That is Duluth. And
well, as the course will find out, it's definitely not David Boren that's hugging him.
Boy, you're really pushing this narrative, aren't you?
Well, I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. I've never heard of Duluth.
It's on the there is. They opened one up on the way down to City? Dallas. You have to go all the way into Denton on 35. It's across from like where the In-N-Out is.
Yeah, I've seen one of these before. Do we have? Yeah, we have one in Oklahoma City.
Do we?
Yeah, Southwest 3rd. I'm trying to picture where that would even be at.
I got those T-shirts that tuck in so your ass crack doesn't show.
Mm-hmm. Literally, their logo, like in the store, it's like plumber's butt's been defeated or something. I was like, you put that up on a billboard? All right.
Is that like buying clothes at somewhere that's more comfortable than like going into Walmart to pick up some jeans?
Is a bear chewing on your asshole? Get our plumber's butt shirts.
I like I said, it was
I'm gonna censor myself here.
It was a Josh emotional car wash. Like, I felt really good. Like, I walked out of there and I was like, you know, I thought I was a big guy, but no, I'm a normal dude.
Doing okay.
I'm not a Duluth guy, so that's exciting. When you've gone Duluth, that's, you know, hey, maybe it's time to, you know, we'll think about dieting, a little exercise, a little more green in the food.
Eddie got to see my lunch today, and I could tell he was jealous.
So jealous. so jealous.
Let me tell you, 180 calories of red beans and rice is not a lot.
I will say the red beans and rice did not look bad.
It's one of the best things that they have. It's just
so you just eat red beans and rice all day?
No.
Okay, are you like on a plan?
I'm on the Nutrisystem thing, yeah.
Okay. I thought you were just kind of doing it yourself. No, that
25 pounds down 1 month. No big deal.
That's awesome, man. No, well done.
25 more, that'd be 50.
Thank you.
You're right.
Thank you, mathematician Ed.
You bet.
So anyway, OU get ready to play TCU on the road, which, let's be honest, can we stop asking questions about going on the road now? Shouldn't that just be, like, really? You're never on the road.
You've been on the road for 42 days. I told Joe Bettner the other day, it's like, it would be more impressive if they would have had to stay out on the road. Never came back to Norman. For like a month and a half, living out of it at La Quinta.
Taking their face shields to McDonald's.
Gosh.
Because they have to wear those face shields.
We really would have to become like professional Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter decipherers of information. That'd be the only way that, hell, it's kind of the only way that we get anything anyways right now.
We'd probably still have Zoom calls.
That'd be cool.
They just have weird.
Isn't it kind of weird that it feels like, did you say you were going to do family pictures, Josh?
Yes.
I feel like everybody's a photographer.
Is doing that now.
Yeah, like everybody gets pictures.
Oh, it's
now.
Everybody's side hustle. Photography is American.
There's some really talented people that do it, because I know a couple people, but it's just like, I feel like everybody does that now. Everybody has a guy or a gal.
Josh's pictures are really good now. Let's face it. You just buy some nice equipment, anybody can take pictures, right, Josh?
You're not kidding.
No, I really was thinking you were going to be offended by me saying that.
No, I'm not good at. I'm not a talented photographer. I know this about myself. It's fine. You know, Eddie will say stuff about video sometimes. I'm like, okay, I can fix that. Like, tell me what to do, where to point it, and I'll do it. That's fine. I got no problem with that. But it is not a natural gift that I possess.
You've gotten really good, and it's taken at least almost a decade and a half for that to happen.
The worst part, though, Carrie, is because of you. You know, I always have good equipment, but like people will see me and they're like, "So what speed are you shooting that on? Like, what do you do?" And I'm like, "I don't have a clue. Like, I mess with it until it's right, and then I won't touch it again." Like that is the. There's nothing worse than like if I shoot 2 games in a day and like one's like inside or something.
What's
and
your
one's
aperture
like
setting?
I'm like,
what's your
shit,
shutter
I've got to
speed?
change something. And it's the third quarter before I get it fixed, and so I've missed all kinds of shots I could have had.
But Josh, to pay for that neighborhood that you're living in now, you could make that your side hustle now.
Yes,
you should be your own family photographer. Tiffany would probably pay you well.
set it up on a timer, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
With gold-plated street signs, I mean, it's tough. Like, you got to find ways to pay for these things. So it's not easy.
There's a basketball player that lives next to you, Harden.
Yeah, Harden. Yeah, he's got one of the smaller places, but like he's got us a lot of celebrities, so they kind of let him in on a technicality.
Daryl Morey's moving out today. It's a sad day in the neighborhood.
We're sad to see Daryl go. He's been a really good guy. I hear Russell's going to buy his house actually, so I think it's going to be fine.
Where did he get repurposed to? Beijing?
Yeah, I think he's in Hong Kong.
Interesting.
I don't think they'll allow him in Beijing.
Covering all the bases today.
He can go run down the streets in Hong Kong with everybody else, though, with their masks on.
Hey, he already has a mask. Just take it with him.
Anyway, TCU coming up this weekend.
Isn't the Oklahoma-TCU series one of the more...
It's like every Big 12 series, isn't it, though? It's like Iowa State, Oklahoma, always close. Kansas State, Oklahoma, always close. TCU, Oklahoma, always close.
Always close to the point, though, of... Like, I was almost shocked when I realized that OU's 8-1 against TCU.
Yeah, they beat
Since
TCU
2012.
more than they beat Kansas State and Iowa State.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the only loss that they had was the 2014 Hail Mary game with Trevor Knight, and they had a big lead in that one.
Yeah.
Game ended on maybe
the one where
of...
Trevor Knight
I
threw
love
it about
BFJ.
10 feet out of the back of the end zone.
Maybe one of the worst Hail Marys of all time. And I have good video of it because Jeffrey Mead is coming running.
Jeffrey Mead in the game
specifically.
specifically.
He did catch it.
But he was 10 yards out
He
of
was
bounds.
about 7 yards to the right of the end zone.
It was not good. And that was kind of the height of pick six BFJ, too. He loved him.
That was the morning of Katy Perry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it was. We were driving down.
That was the Katy Perry morning.
I think we were watching it in the car on the ESPN app.
Where would you rank that throw with the Kansas State pick six, like at the goal line?
That's the worst one ever.
Yeah, that's
the worst one ever.
That's a pretty bad one.
That's one of the worst throws I've ever seen.
We love TK9, and BFJ's been retired, but those were two pretty bad interceptions. I guess one was an interception, one was a Hail Mary.
To his credit, it could not have been intercepted. He threw it where no one was going to intercept it.
I was looking
Trevor
at the box score of that game. It was a little bit closer than I remember it being.
Do you think Trevor has that sign like hanging above his like breakfast nook that says, "I don't regret any of the mistakes that I've made because they've led me here to you"? That seems like a TK9.
I don't know.
He sent that card for sure.
Yes.
Nowadays,
somewhere in his
send,
life that has somehow.
Nowadays, kids just send like
it.
cakes to people,
like dirty cakes.
Yeah, like something like that.
That's getting deleted.
Well, that's what it says. Get with the culture one time.
I know. What it doesn't mean just because WAP is out there that I have to be supportive of it.
Hey, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that is what people send cakes on. Like, sorry for giving you COVID.
Well, that's fine, but that other one, no. Like we have to draw a line at some point in society.
Well, I'm just reading what I have seen.
Can't live 24/7 the barstool life.
Some people would disagree with that. It is more of a lifestyle than anything.
Did I see this correctly that the WAP has tried to be repurposed by some churches?
Oh, it doesn't. That would not surprise me at all.
Something in prayers, work in prayer, or something like that.
Well, I saw somebody said that they had told their parents that it was wine and pizza, so their parents had a wine and pizza night and didn't realize until everybody got over to the house that it was
basically a key party.
Like their parents had basically thrown a swinger party with unintended consequences.
Everybody'd shown up with an erection.
Did their kids?
It was a problem.
Did their kids just start playing the song like as soon as everybody showed up?
I have no. It looked like the kids that sent out that story were in college, so I don't know what the actual. Better than bringing COVID back into the home, though.
Well, Odell Beckham doesn't have to worry about it.
I would imagine, though, to answer your question, Josh, there are, I don't know, maybe 20% of people that are... How many people are they allowing inside Amon G. Carter Stadium this weekend? What is the... Are they
I think it's
15?
11.
They're at 11,000? So it's like 10% or 11 or 15% of the
So it'll be
stadium?
like a KU game.
That'd be a pretty good crowd.
There might be a good WAP crowd in the Amon G. Carter Stadium this weekend. Usually pretty strong.
I bet the next time they play at Baylor, they'll have a strong WAP crowd.
I mean, apparently, if you saw their homecoming festivities last weekend, it just seems like everybody else.
Why are people offended by that?
Because it's something to get offended about.
I don't understand it.
I think it's because they look at the football
can
program.
Can you believe what they had a homecoming festivity?
Yeah, I can believe it.
Yeah,
it's Baylor. Last school in the conference that has paid attention to guidelines
not like
and protocols.
They had to have it in an ICU or something.
Well, they probably wouldn't have had enough beds to do it, but I don't know. It'd been interesting.
Waco's medical stuff is huge.
Yeah, it's right across the street from the stadium, isn't it?
There's Waco medical centers everywhere, like in Frisco and
I've had
Dallas.
some buddies that went to Baylor Medical School. Supposedly, it's a really good school.
It's very good. Yeah.
But isn't that in Dallas? Isn't the Baylor Medical like the school? I don't know.
The school? No, it's in Houston.
They just have a lot.
Oh,
of
it's in Houston.
That's where Tiffany's mom went.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're big time.
So you're by, I guess, association, kind of a Baylor Bear, Josh.
Yeah.
I wondered why you
marriage.
covered for Art Briles for so long.
Well, I didn't. I got so tired of seeing Jason Kirk have to fight it alone. You know, Jason Kirk just fighting the good fight on behalf of all the great reporters out there.
He's at that fine establishment Outkick now.
Yep, they're just collecting winners.
Oh my God. Okay, so back to football. Trevor Knight.
I promise I'll stay on task here.
That's all right. It's been a bye week.
There's nothing to
you
recap.
and I have been talking the same thing over and over and over again for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
on radio, on
and
pods.
let me just put it out there to clear the air. I think it was better for Oklahoma as a program to win the game in Dallas than it was to lose the game.
Okay,
Bold. Thank you.
Let us tackle real quick on top. We'll tackle the suspension stuff. And I know it's almost got to the point where a new thread gets started every 30 minutes. So it's I kind of have that opinion. Like I've said what I've said. If there's something new to say, I'll say it. I just don't think there's anything new to say here. I mean, you've had Justin Harrington's tweet, which, was deleted almost like 4 minutes, I think you said, Eddie, it stayed up, saying like his boys are about to be back.
Oh, yeah. When that was like last Thursday morning, wasn't it? Or Friday morning? Because it was before or after, it was after we had recorded the U40 for last week, right?
And you've had Rhamondre Stevenson tweeting out pictures of himself in the Big 12 championship game over and over, and everybody kind of like, I don't believe that they're going to be back this week. I mean, and when I say they, it even starts falling apart now because what we've told you about Ronnie Perkins this entire time about the NCAA and that they basically can do whatever they want with him now because he didn't follow through on getting, what's the word? Starts with an R. I've used it many times, and now it's escaped my brain.
Not the R word Greg Marshall used, I hope.
No, he's in a whole different category. Readmitted. I mean, like, he failed to be readmitted, and that was of his own doing. So the NCAA is like, okay, well, you can't ever pass a drug test that we give you, so, what are we going to do with you? Now, one of the options on the table from the beginning was, well, they just let him serve out his usual suspension, and he'll be back. Now, when you hear people like Teddy Lehman say that he hasn't even been around the facility, it starts to make you question. I know there were all these rumors floating around that he'd been kicked off the team. I don't believe that that's happened. But it does seem like now his case has become separate from everyone else's at this point.
For the negative. For a while, it felt like that was a positive for him, and now it feels like it's gone the opposite direction.
Right. And the thing is, we have contacted people close to the suspended players. No one's been able to verify to us that, and they flat out told us, no, we haven't heard anything in terms of, our player, our relation, whatever, which is going to be able to play this weekend.
Isn't that a little wild that there has just been, it almost seems like no communication from the NCAA as in terms of, so I guess my question is like next week, do they contact OU and say, all right, you guys have served your suspension, you're ready to roll?
Well, the thing with Perkins...
I mean, that's a compliance issue, I understand, but...
The thing with Perkins literally almost happened overnight. I mean, within 2 weeks, it was done. Like the appeal was filed, it was approved, and then they started going through the process that next week of getting him reinstated. Reinstated is the word I was looking for. And they did all the paperwork. Everything was done. It was approved. He just needed to follow through on this one step, and it did not happen.
I just find
because they were willing to play him at Iowa State if the drug test came back saying he's clear.
I just don't understand.
And then he didn't show up at Texas.
I just don't understand how A, gets to that point, B, there's no communication, and C, I just don't understand what is going on in Indianapolis. Like, the Chris Murray thing is just insane to me that it took him 5 weeks to figure that out.
But it wasn't just Murray. There were some other guys around the country that were getting the waivers at the same time.
Just any type of waiver. Like, I would think as an institution.
Football, not like basketball's been happening, and you've been pointing that out.
Yeah, no, I completely get what you're saying. It's just like, I don't understand how anybody that works for the NCAA doesn't think it looks bad that they had literally 6 months to figure that out.
And it was a slam dunk.
And then they come back and
Rubber
4 games
stamp.
into the season. It blows my mind how something like that happens.
Well, and here's the thing with everything is you're now this deep into the season with Chris Murray, and I think if Chris Murray had been starting or had been eligible from the very beginning, he might be playing right guard, and Tyrese Robinson might be your right tackle, and Adrian Ely might be your left tackle. By the way, this just in, a new shipment from Dead Soxy. Great place, great sponsor of the Unofficial 40 podcast. Eddie and I both big fans of deadsoxy.com, as they got some of the best socks out there. If you guys are looking to upgrade your wardrobe a little bit, looking for a little something special, go over to deadsoxy.com. That's Dead Soxy, and check out their collection, whether you're looking for the no-show socks for wearing with sneakers, or you want something a little dressier like the boardroom, or you just want to show off your favorite school. They got the crimson and cream colorways for you to take part. They got several different options to choose from for all different kinds of game days, but really high quality. They got the patented no-slip silicone beads in the welt, so you won't have any slippage. And right now, 30% off using the promo code BOOMER at checkout. And Eddie, I know you're doing a lot of walking these days. You like the no-shows to wear out there?
I love the no-shows. I love the no-shows, and then I love the patented no-slip silicone beads because they stay on your foot a little bit easier. You don't have to bend down, and for a big guy like me, over my belly, you don't have to bend down and keep messing with your shoes.
But you're walking. You're less big.
Well, we're getting there. We're getting there. But 30% off promo code right now.
Not helping.
Exclusively for Soonerscoop.com. Enter keyword Boomer at checkout, and you'll get 30% off. They're living right with me right now.
Now, you didn't do it well last night. Would you like to last week? Would you like to spell out the website one more time?
I'll try it out. I'll try it out for size. DEADSOXY.com. That is deadsoxy.com.
Use that promo code Boomer, 30% off the best dress socks you've ever put on, and always stay soxy, guys. Okay, Bob Prisbillo is calling in. He's out of the child labor camp, and he is now joining us here on the podcast. It's Wednesday, and we just had Zoom calls, and we're getting our pod out, and Bob's been out transcribing, doing his duties. And Bob, we're talking about Chris Murray. I do think if he had been, eligible, he'd probably be in the starting lineup right now, but you're coming out of a Texas game where the offensive line has finally played really well, and Bill Bedenbaugh, when he gets that chemistry working, as he has over the years, like we always said, like it's not working, but we trust that Bedenbaugh will get it going. I think Anton Harrison's been a big part of that, but Tyrese Robinson, Marquise Hayes both played well. Creed Humphrey seems to be playing well. Like, I don't know that they really want to mess with that now, other than they might sub Chris Murray in, but because he had to sit out all those games, it's almost like you worry, have they fixed the offensive line where they don't want to mess with it in regards to Murray?
I would agree with that. Yeah, I definitely would agree with that because I think, if he had been eligible, he would be starting, but that's not the case. And now it's almost like you would be afraid to put him in a highly competitive situation. Maybe you get his feet wet in I don't know when OU's going to have a breather, based on the way they played the first 4 games of 2020. But if you can get them in to just sort of get a feel of how he interacts with those other guys in a game situation, not just practice, then you have a better idea. Which really hoping, I think, is just that him, Bray Walker, Andrew Rain just keep pushing Tyrese and Marquise so that they don't just rest on their laurels and keep saying, well, I'm just going to start because I've been doing it the last 2-3 years. Now you've got guys who can actually push them out if they're not playing at the level like they did against Texas.
You know, it's kind of funny, too, that we're also a week removed from talking to Tyrese Robinson, and he was the first one to say it, that he was a little overweight. He's trying to get back into shape right now.
That was interesting.
It's interesting, like, Chris Murray's obviously been practicing. He's been going through everything, but does he also need to get in shape as well? I mean, I don't know. It seems like that is a problem right now for Oklahoma's offensive linemen.
Well, and then the other question is, in terms of the run game, do you stick with TJ Pledger, even though Seth McGowan will be back?
I would. I thought TJ Pledger really ran the ball really well against Texas.
Really well.
I mean, what did he average? Like 6.3 a carry, I think. And I think Pledger, and you get McGowan back. I mean, obviously that's going to take away carries from Marcus Major, who, you know, I thought he ran the ball okay against Texas.
Nice touchdown run.
Yeah.
What always becomes an issue is that these guys get stronger with more carries.
Yeah.
And when you divide them up so much, it's like Pledger might have won like 10 for 50 instead of 22 for 130. And so you want to feature back, but you don't. And it's really hard to sort of juggle. I thought Pledger couldn't be that guy that goes 20, 25 carries, but he showed against Texas and in that type of heat that he could handle it just fine.
Well, you say that, and there's no better example than Trey Sermon. I mean, he got unhappy because they didn't juggle it the right way, and partially because Jalen Hurts was taking away a lot of carries from the running back that year. But at the same time, Kennedy Brooks clearly became kind of option number one, and Trey Sermon was ready to be that feature guy instead of that change-up guy that he was early in his career. And he got disgruntled because of it.
It's really funny that we're talking about this, and they're going to be in the same exact spot next week when you get Rhamondre Stevenson back to the mix, right?
Yep. Exactly. Because he is your best back. I mean, he just is.
And I don't even think that, honestly, it's not even really a conversation to be had.
No.
I mean, Rhamondre Stevenson, as soon as he's eligible to return, he's your number one guy. Well, how do you think that will kind of shake out, Josh?
You know, it's going to be exactly – I don't think it's that different than what we're talking about on the offensive line. You've got to see what Stevenson looks like. I mean, because you can condition, you can do all that stuff. Guys, we all know, I mean, missing 4 or 5 games of your season and then coming in, he's not going to be at the same speed as everybody else. His stamina won't be the same. Like, he'll need a little time to find, you know, kind of his feet, I guess. But there's no question. I mean, he's the best back on this team. He is the – you know, Stevenson, I said at the end of last year, I thought he was OU's best back at the end of last season. And that's over Sermon and Brooks that had a lot of yardage, a lot of experience, and that kind of thing. Stevenson, I think, is an NFL guy. So, you know, it's just going to be a matter of how quickly he can kind of hit it and make it going. But, I mean, you talk about it. Pledger, Stevenson, and what we've seen out of McGowan, that's a pretty good three-set running back that can bring you a lot of different looks. They can do a lot of different things, and really you don't have to – it's not one of those situations where you're rotating guys and it dictates what you're doing offensively. I think all three can pretty much do the things you want to do, and they don't really tip your hand of what you're wanting to do offensively.
But I also think what we've seen from TJ Pledger is he does not – like Eddie was talking about, the more carries he got, the better he got against Texas. I don't know if he's that guy that can come in on spot duty and just be explosive for you. He seems like a guy that needs, 10, 15, 20 carries to really give you the best that he's got.
Who is that? Sorry.
TJ Pledger.
TJ Pledger. Yeah. He could be a really nice compliment, though.
Eddie's multitasking.
He could be a really nice compliment. Yeah, I'm just picking off haters left and right on Twitter. He could be a nice compliment, though.
Are you still fighting about the defensive line?
No, that's over. That guy was an
idiot. One thing Pledger adds is the catching ability out of the backfield.
Right, yeah.
Although we haven't really seen it through the first 4 games.
McGowan's really good in that way, but they really haven't used him as such.
And Stevenson's not a clod catching the ball.
No, No, he's okay. I mean, I said that. They all have their individual strengths. Like Pledger is the most complete of the three to me. Stevenson's the best pure runner, and I think McGowan's probably just the best athlete. You know, he's a little more explosive, I think, than the other two and can do a little bit of different stuff. But
by the way, I think we've just won the argument we had against Eddie about most important person to have back. We were fighting over whether you want Perkins.
I'll be defiant on that and say that
because all of a sudden Stevenson's coming back, and you're like, should he be the guy? Should he be the starter? There would be no question that Perkins should be out. Well,
yeah, then so that just proves my point even more.
No,
so I won.
You were on the Stevenson
I won
side.
by winning. No, I was the Bronny Perkins side.
I was.
We were all.
No, I was definitely on the Perkins. Or no, I was on the Stevenson.
You were
side.
Stevenson side.
Yeah, I was.
So okay. I'll just go ahead and take a victory lap real quick.
Okay,
and,
so we're the idiots.
Yeah, I mean, then that's kind of how I saw it a couple weeks ago.
That we're the idiots. Thank you.
No, and you know, it's kind of funny too because
Payday's coming up.
It's interesting how it all comes together. I have no problem selling meth. It's an election year. I just need to go down to LaFleur County. We can get into that later.
Can you get away with selling meth when pot is so easily available?
Yeah, I think you're talking about two different demos there.
They can't just, the meth heads can't just switch to pot?
I don't think so. I think that would...
They enjoy losing their teeth?
I don't know. We'll have to... I'll take a trip up to Stillwater and we'll get that message back here rather quickly.
You have to go to southeastern Oklahoma.
Yeah, LaFleur County, where they're castrating people.
Yeah.
I don't know though. It's gonna. Now I'm kind of thrown off. What are we talking about?
Well, we were talking about Stevenson
about
and how
Stevenson.
he fits in.
Yeah. It is kind of funny though that they're coming off of arguably their best game of the year on the ground, and there's so many moving parts, whether it be Chris Murray or whoever's playing running back. If everybody plays the same that they did on Saturday or last weekend and can build off that, they should be okay.
I mean, TCU's going to be another challenge. I mean, I think they're as good as anybody in terms of, I don't know. Josh, you probably have the numbers. I don't know them, but historically, TCU is as good or as hard to run against as anybody in the conference.
Oh, absolutely. And this is one of those weird years where, not weird, but it seems like for several years it's been a good TCU defense, and then they would show up and, they're just facing a better Oklahoma offense, a more experienced, more talented, whatever. But what's interesting this year, TCU is actually there's only one team in the conference that's been worse in run defense than they have been, and that's Kansas. They are behind Texas Tech. They're behind Baylor. It's not even close. People will. Eddie was just talking about. We've had people on Twitter today talking about Oklahoma's defensive line play being poor and just not knowing the stats. TCU's giving up almost twice as many yards per game on the ground as Oklahoma is defensively right now.
Which should be just music to Oklahoma's ears, considering what they've done to TCU on the ground in the last 6 years. Did you guys catch this in the game notes? It literally shocked me when I saw this. OU's won 6 in a row in this series. They've ran for an average of 283.3 a game. They posted 333 in 2015, 260 in 2016. They played them twice in 17, obviously. They 200 the first time around, 218 in the Big 12 championship game, 323 on the ground in 2018. They ran for 366 yards last year against TCU.
Lord.
Those turnovers, the Jalen Hurts turnovers.
Son of a bitch.
That could have been a blowout.
And last year, that was the second best run defense in the Big 12. A stat that shocks me almost as much as what Eddie just told me. Do you guys know who led the Big 12 in run defense last year?
Was it? It has to.
OU.
Was it?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was Oklahoma.
It was OU.
About 3 yards ahead of TCU, and
the game note the game note package actually notes that OU held TCU to an average of 119.2 in all 6 of those games, with a high of 161 in 2015.
It's sad to see Kansas in 10th in both years, but it's actually 2 yards off their pace of 2019. They're a little worse this year in the run defense. So the Jayhawks, it's going well for Leston Company.
Well, I mean, and that's been kind of the talk, this week with Lincoln Riley. Like, the offense was great in overtime. Nobody expected them to be able to keep, step with Texas once it went to overtime because the defense had fallen apart and the offense just wasn't moving the ball. And then all of a sudden, Austin Stogner makes that catch. And really, OU, if they had not had Gabe Burkich line up for that field goal, they might have scored and won the game then on offense because they were just going.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that would have liked to have seen that instead of kicking a field goal on second down.
I mean, yeah, in hindsight.
Yeah, that never comes up if you make it, but
I didn't even care that they were doing it on second down or third, whatever. I mean,
No.
32-yard field goal for Gabe Burkich, win the game.
Sure.
Go win it.
sure.
But
I mean, I was as sure he would make that kick as I was sure Oklahoma was in trouble going into overtime.
yeah.
Shit, just even after Texas scored in the fourth quarter, I'm still in shock. Like, Gary Patterson, this series has been littered with them going for two at the end of games. You think he would have gone for two at the Cotton Bowl? Damn right he would have.
He would have, yeah. Without
He wouldn't
question.
even have thought about it.
Yeah.
He'd have hit his kicker's helmet.
He's not a kitty cat like Tom Herman is.
But I mean, talking to Lincoln this week, really, it has been, can you build off of that performance? Is that a springboard for the rest of your season offensively? And I have to think that these last 2 weeks that Spencer Rattler has continued to build a rapport with Theo Wease, Austin Stogner, Drake Stoops, Marvin Mims. And, I just think that Charleston Rambo's kind of the odd man out, and he probably should be. I doubt Lincoln will ever give up on Charleston Rambo.
No, and I don't think that Oklahoma will as a whole. I mean, they're going to give him opportunities, but it's like I know it sounds really bad, but at some point you got to move on to the more talented guys and the guys that have shown they can make plays. I mean, I don't think there's anything rude about that.
Rambo has a place in this offense, but it's as a deep threat, really, to me. It's not as a catch and run guy.
And it's not the competitive catches in the corner of the end zone.
No.
That he just doesn't make
Let
them.
Drake Stoops and Austin Stogner do that stuff. Let Marvin Mims kind of get behind the defense.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, Bob, what you asked Rattler just as far as developing a rapport with Theo Wease. I mean, he made it a point. I don't know if you saw it in the first quarter, but he definitely made a point there after he got, benched or put in timeout, whatever you want to call it. And he's like, basically, F it, I'm gonna go down swinging if I'm going down. That's kind of the way that I saw that second half.
Yeah.
Go down with his best players.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to go 1-3. It's not because, we didn't just give everything we got and go with the guys that we trust the most. So, yeah, I definitely saw second half and overtimes like that. And hopefully, I think Theo can be an alpha. I think me and Josh are in total agreement there. We thought Theo would be the guy already at this point this season, but now can he translate what happened in Dallas through the rest of the year? And can he start getting some big yards after the catch? It's sort of a, 8 catches, but only like 52 yards. And you're going to need more than that if he's going to really become the guy.
Josh, I think Theo has that personality where he wants a challenge, just like him seeking out Derek Stingley Jr. at Rivals 5-star. Like, he wants to compete, but he also has that personality, kind of like Malcolm Kelly a little bit. Those two remind me of each other so much in personality. Like, if things don't go his way, he can get his dauber down a little bit. Like, and he can kind of just check out.
Shout out Bobby Jack Wright.
Yep. I think there is a little bit of that in him, and it's just he's just one of those guys that, like a lot of receivers, like he is as good as the momentum is. Like, if he's moving in the right direction, like Bob brought it up. I mean, they were using him almost like it felt like Geno Lewis at times. You remember when Geno Lewis had that year where they just kept giving it to him on third down? He'd just find a way. If they needed 5, he'd get 6 or whatever. And that's what Wease felt like against Texas, but he's so much more than that.
Yeah.
And, you guys talking about Rambo. I'd love to see some more bubble screens to Theo Wease. If that's what you want to run some bubbles, I think Theo's a great option for that. I'm not saying that there's maybe not a few that I would like more, But if you're looking for that big, long guy, for whatever reason,
well,
they seem to
how
like
about
that.
Marvin Mims for some bubble screens?
That's the one that's obvious as it can be to me.
That stat that Kersey threw out today about Marvin Mims was pretty wild.
He's got to play the second half. They got to put him in.
2 receptions and 12 yards after halftime this season.
As compared to 5 receptions for 196 yards and 4 touchdowns in the first half. It's wild.
That's amazing.
But isn't that just kind of, and I don't know, maybe tell me if it's an excuse, but isn't that kind of just the, I guess, lessons you have to learn as a young offense?
Yeah, I mean, the quarterback has to realize, it's kind of like, it's not even young quarterbacks. Like I was watching the Dallas-Arizona game. It was driving me insane that Andy Dalton would not throw the ball to his best 2 receivers and Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. Like,
I don't know how much time he had to do that.
He didn't take him long to throw that slant over the over the middle of the field to Amari Cooper after halftime. I mean, it was literally like a 3-step drop. So, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, and that's, Jalen Hurts, we criticized him a lot for not, seeking out CeeDee Lamb more. And even at the beginning of last season, we were asking Lincoln Riley, how do you get CeeDee Lamb more involved? And he actually said, we have to force feed him the ball. We have to get him more touches. So that's the thing that we're working through here with Spencer Rattler is he's figuring out who he can really rely on. If it's third down, he feels like he can rely on Stogner to throw it over the middle, and he didn't convert on the one play, the 3rd and 9, that they really needed to pick up that would have iced the game.
Still the right call.
Yeah, still the right call. I agree. Even though there should have been 39 less seconds on the clock or 42 or whatever it was.
Sabotage job.
But if he feels that now with Theo Wease. He feels that with Drake Stoops. He needs to feel that more with Marvin Mims. Now that he trusts those guys, he won't miss them on the field if they get open.
Well, and I think that's why what you saw kind of unfold in the second half of that game down at the Cotton Bowl was so important. And I said that it was important for them to win. I almost think that it was more important for them not to lose than it was to win, if that makes sense. I know that kind of sounds stupid, but I think I truly believe that.
Your
I can't imagine
real life. They just came to life right now.
Absolutely. I can't imagine what these last 2 weeks would have been like if you're sitting there and Oklahoma's 1-3 coming out of a bye week. Talk about the world coming.
COVID.
I'd rather go through COVID 5 times than go through a week like that.
It reminds me of the movie Tin Cup when he gets the yips. And he's
he needs to find their roams.
Yeah.
Is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Who could be their roams?
Of course Eddie knows this reference.
Well,
he's seen Tin Cup. I mean, it plays on the Golf Channel during the offseason nonstop.
Instead of going to mass on Sunday mornings, we watch Tin Cup at the Radosevich household.
I mean, it's like, you would have viewed OU's offense as Roy McAvoy says, my swing feels like an unfolded lawn chair. Like their offense literally would have been an unfolded lawn chair. It would have been a mess.
God, I can't imagine walking in on Riley sitting in his Winnebago parked in the back of the governor's mansion left by Christina Fallon, and he has all that shit on his head and trying to figure out his
offense.
I don't think it's that bad right now.
He'd have old film strip projectors, just running.
It might be a little bit of a blend. I could see Grinch doing that. I don't know about Lincoln.
Kind of like when I don't know if you know this reference. Surely you've seen this movie. Kind of like when Bobby Boucher first walked into Mr. Coach Klein in that dark room and he was just watching film.
If I ever get COVID again and have to go to the hospital, I hope everybody joins, congregates out front of the hospital and has a vigil like they did.
Bobby did. They did for Bobby's mother.
I almost went up to, never mind.
Guys, you almost had one for Sugars.
I know. I almost had to do it for Trump a couple weeks ago.
The thing that's crazy, Oklahoma is number 10 in the country in total offense. It does not feel like that.
Oh, it feels like this thing's broken.
What you're measuring it against is an offense that averages 10 yards a snap.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
Yep.
No doubt about it.
Measuring. I always get in trouble. It's because I've made fun of Dean Blevins so long for saying measure that I now say measure.
They are
so 2019.
They are more than
we don't make fun
2
of
yards per
anymore.
play behind Kyler Murray's offense.
That's unbelievable. And we're sitting here nitpicking everything.
almost
Well, if you take
2
out
yards behind
Missouri
Baker.
State, I think that's part of it.
But it's just, I mean, a big part of it is the turnovers that Rattler has had. And
Sure.
I mean, it's like I was talking this morning.
Fair.
Oklahoma State, they have a chance to, I mean, is where they're ranked. They're not a national championship contender until Spencer Sanders can come back as quarterback against a good team like Iowa State and prove that he's not a turnover machine anymore. And he's actually got to be better than he was a year ago just as an every down quarterback. Like, he has to prove that he can throw those passes to Tylan Wallace. That offensive line has to prove that they can run block for Chuba Hubbard. But Spencer Sanders will determine whether or not Oklahoma State wins a Big 12 championship at this point.
Yeah, I would say that's
It's all
accurate.
on his shoulders.
I mean, and it's going to be particularly interesting just to kind of see how Oklahoma State gets back into the form of things this weekend, having not played for a couple weeks.
3 weeks.
And Spencer Sanders hasn't played in almost a month.
He's played a quarter this entire season.
Yeah, it was a good drive, but it stalled in the red zone, I guess, if you really want to get nitpicky on it.
I mean,
I'm fairly interested to see kind of what happens in this conference over the course of the next few weeks, because hopefully you get into like the middle slate of games as far as, Oklahoma State has Iowa State, Texas coming up these next 2 weeks. OU has to finish out their road from hell schedule on the road with trip to Fort Worth and then Lubbock. So we'll see.
it really is almost like Oklahoma State is a member of the Big Ten. Their football season is just starting this weekend.
Yeah, it kind of does feel like that.
By the way, good luck, Big Ten. 8 games in 8 weeks.
I'm just
totally
happy to
really
know
hard.
what the weather's going to be like in East Lansing on Saturday, or like, West Lafayette.
Well,
I missed getting updates when I turned on the TV on Saturday morning.
Purdue's coach got the COVID.
Based on their
Jeff
rules,
Brom?
does anybody in the Big
Kobe
Ten
brother.
play more than 6 games?
Oh, I think you'll have some that
There might be some.
finish the 8, but
Okay.
Just based on
Their-
that 21
their margin of
day,
error is so
though,
small.
that's
What is
the
it, like-
thing.
Yeah, that 21-day
like-
thing is the dumbest thing that has ever
That's
been
gonna be
done.
rough.
yeah, a huge problem. Yeah, I mean, that's...
Doesn't even make
Okay,
sense.
I changed my mind. No one will play 8 games.
That's why I don't think anyone does it, just because of the guidelines they have in place.
I mean, Justin Fields could have that happen to him and miss almost half of Ohio State's season.
Sure.
Yeah. Or even if it runs through your offensive line, you're screwed. I mean, like Baylor would have missed how many games by now?
Well, they've only
3
played
at
2.
least.
They've only played 2, so.
And I mean, Oklahoma State hasn't even done anything wrong, and they've missed 3 weeks. So, like, what if Ohio State only ends up playing 4 games?
Well, they'll still make the playoff.
Yeah, they probably still will.
No, that's going to be BYU that screws everything up for everybody. I
Quarterback's
think
pretty
the
good.
Zach Wilson kid's pretty
Yeah,
good.
It's pretty good.
Mom's hot, too.
Well, he looks like a little shit.
Yes.
Thank you, Josh.
That's
I'm
your-
glad that Josh has a little shit radar, just like I do.
hey,
I am not opposed, nor am I supporting the Mormons of the list.
I don't know anything about the kid, but he has little shit written all over his
Well,
face.
he comes from a Utah family. He turned his back on the Utes. His dad played at Utah.
BYU is in Utah, you know.
I know. They're
What do you mean?
the Holy
Yeah,
War.
he's
He
saying,
turned
like,
his back on him.
family are
The whole
Ute
family
fans,
are
like-
Utah Utes
yeah.
fans. Mm-hmm. Turned his back on him. It'd be like going to Texas.
No, Carrie, I have 2 young daughters. My radar for little shit is overly sensitive. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you're walking your grandmother across the street, aren't you? Yeah, you want money, don't you, little asshole? I am highly sensitive.
Yeah, Josh will not be allowing his daughters to date someone that looks like that
No,
at any point.
no,
in
that
their
won't
lives.
happen. No, that won't happen. That's yeah. We've already got talk of boyfriends. We've had some changes in Laney's boyfriend column lately. It's not been good. Dad is I'm staking out the school, trying to figure out who he is. Can't go in the school this year. It's making it a lot harder to be that dad.
Mr. McQuishan, do you want to hear about the Latter-day Saints? And Josh gets out a phone. He's like, let me take a picture of you, buddy. You're on the list now.
You're not
You
sticking
ever
that in
show-
anybody's butthole around here.
Show up at my doorstep again, sir.
You know he's had a lot of butt sex.
Who's?
The quarterback for BYU.
I don't know.
That's what the Mormons do.
I don't know.
They keep their virginity and they have butt sex.
They left that part out of the.
It's in the manual.
Oh, I was gonna say they left that part out of the South Park, and that's all I know about the Mormon religion.
You haven't watched the
Joseph
Vanderpump?
Smith.
You haven't watched the Vanderpump Rules?
Are they Mormon?
There was one of the servers that worked there that was Mormon.
Oh,
And she confirmed.
she like leave the
That there's
family
a
like
lot of
in
butt
what's it
sex.
called?
No, she remained Mormon, but they have butt sex to keep their virginity.
I did not know that. I did not know that.
I should really bleep out this part of the pod by
That
myself.
is so. That's always mind-boggling to me. Like
This will be the most commented thing in the comment
for
section
sure.
of the podcast.
100%. I think we just guaranteed
There will
about
be
40.
people that know that this is true, and they will want to confirm it.
Yeah.
Timing is everything, including that DM you just sent, Josh.
Yes. I do want to apologize, to our Mormon members. Best of luck to you guys. No comments on you. I'm sure you're one of the ones not doing the butt sex.
Yeah, good luck with Halloween.
Maybe Logan is just a fan of butt sex.
Could be. For those wondering, Logan Fano, a linebacker from Utah, just included OU in his final 4 schools. I am not under the impression that Logan Fano has a current active offer from Oklahoma. He is also looking at BYU, Utah, and Washington. I would guess that his final choice will come from one of those 3.
It's like the old Sesame Street thing. One of these things is not
It's
like
not
the other.
like the other.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
I did see that part on the Chappelle Show.
All right. Defensively, Oklahoma. We haven't really talked a whole lot about that. We did talk to David Agwebu today, Isaiah Thomas. Guys, I don't think it's been talked about enough. Probably because we've asked to talk to him every week and it's never been granted. But we got to start, I think, giving some true love to Perrion Winfrey, and a guy that probably more than anyone in recent memory. I mean, I've had people.
He's a dog.
I've had people
They haven't had dogs down there in a
ask
while.
the question like, is this the best since Gerald McCoy? Because he wreaks havoc, and we haven't seen that from a defensive lineman in a very long time.
From a physical talent standpoint, I think you could make that conversation. I mean, and the thing about Winfrey, like Eddie just said, can you imagine if Gus Johnson had tried to put the wrong nickname on Perrion Winfrey? With the big Canada thing or the Canadian bulldozer or whatever.
Bulldozer.
Yeah, if he had tried to pull that shit on Perrion Winfrey, he might get got. That would be bad. As to where Neville's like, no, that never happened. That never been called that. Neville was so good about it. Winfrey, you're like, I like you. Because I talked to him several times in recruiting. He was always a nice guy to deal with. But I'm like, I think you might be a little scary.
He has the crazy eye.
Yep. There is an element of that. I mean, obviously was kind of in and out of the doghouse at Iowa Western.
And it was pretty evident he was suspended for the first quarter against Missouri State.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the reason I noticed is he set a world record for body bands when he entered the game.
Badass.
I literally thought he was wearing Hoosier leggings.
I mean, single digit number, has the crazy eye. They should start talking about this guy like he's a
Reportedly
Selman.
likes to
He's a
party.
long lost Selman brother. I don't know about their partying status, but that's.
Is he consistent, or does he just flash? And when he flashes, it's really incredible.
I thought Texas, he started, it was more consistent. It was better. He was getting more reps. Kind of like what we're talking about. And Bob, I know you weren't kind of part of that. We're talking about Tyrese Robinson and talking about getting in shape and those kind of things. And I think maybe you're seeing that with Winfrey as well, is him starting to catch up to the speed of the game, things starting to get more familiar for him. But I thought against Texas, he was pretty consistent. I thought that was clearly his best game. But you are right. Even when he's not snap in and snap out doing what you want, man, when he flashes, it's special. You watch him, it's not any special secret. You watch when the snap goes and how quickly he gets to his lane. That's not normal. Those guys are not everywhere, and that's why it amazed me that Oklahoma got him so early, and he never seemed to waver. Like, there was never any of that. I thought, man, Alabama's going to come in here, LSU's going to come in here. I thought a bunch of schools would get in there and really try to turn his head, and it just didn't happen. And it happened to a degree that it made me wonder, like, am I wrong about this guy? Am I too high on him? But no, he's special. If he can just keep it together off the field, which has there been a guy in recent memory that even the fans are aware, like, we're going to have to watch this guy from week to week. Like, we're not sure we're going to have him next week. Like, it feels like even the fans know.
They need 5 more of those guys.
If you happen to be parked at the University of Oklahoma and you come back to your car and your hood is shaped like Perrion Winfrey, just let it go.
Yep.
Just drive
away.
Bro.
I mean, why would you be a narc?
You want that dub on Saturday or not?
Yeah, exactly. Hoods can be replaced.
It's a good question. Just make sure you don't.
Defensive tackles.
Just make sure you don't do it at the like the honors college or
where the
National
nerds
Merit
are.
Scholars
Yeah.
are.
Just remember how much you loved Latimer in the program, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
There's things that have to be done.
It's good that we've gotten to this point.
I brought this up with Bob earlier too. Is just as far as Oklahoma's defensive line's been pretty good this year. I think that has been a bright spot on their defense.
Even like LaRon Stokes. I mean,
yeah.
He's been really good. And, of course, Isaiah Thomas has been, Nick Bonitto. I just include the outside linebackers as defensive linemen.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
Let's face it, they're just glorified outside linebackers.
With Agwebu coming on, how good would this front seven be with Redmond and Perkins?
Are you trying to start a war? Are you trying to just get everyone to revolt on the message boards? I mean, people want to get rid of Deshaun White as it is just because they love David Agwebu.
Guys, because I talked about it, I think, last week on the pod. Agwebu, like, everybody talks about the time lapse on that Ellinger play, but I still marvel that Agwebu got over there to force him out of bounds and force that fourth down.
Yeah,
now they didn't come up with the stop, but I mean that he's different, man. He's not like all the others.
Now, Alex Grinch was asked today, I believe, by Owen Bob Prisbillo, was it not? About Agwebu versus Deshaun White.
I asked about Pat Fields.
Oh no, you went after Pat Fields. Oh, that's right.
I did. That's like
the ended Pat Fields' career today.
Yeah, let me paraphrase for anybody that didn't hear it.
Oh no!
Everybody thinks that Patrick Fields sucks. Why do you keep playing him?
That was the question.
That was the question. Paraphrase.
No, that was
the meanest question I've ever asked.
It really was.
Me and Carrie looked at each other like, "Oh my God!" He just went for the kill spot.
I had to turn my video off because I couldn't believe it. Like, I'm usually the asshole. I'm the guy that asks Buki, why aren't you as good as you should be?
And why haven't you brought back the
sledgehammer?
No,
sledgehammer.
Nobody wants to hear that question asked.
Everybody wants to hear that question
I did tell
asked.
Woodi Washington. I did admonish Woodi Washington today for bringing up Jacob Phillips' name.
I know he brought up the name that's never been spoken in Norman, Oklahoma since, what was that, 2016?
I also told Oprah her high school sucked.
Yeah, you started a race war today. It was...
I don't know about that. They have a nice auditorium.
Speaking of Woody, though, I thought it was pretty interesting. Like, and you see the interception that he had against Texas. You see, even Riley brought it up on Tuesday. Just the fact that he made some pretty good open field tackles. It feels like he could be the next big guy coming out of the secondary, and a secondary that needs somebody to do it.
He's another dog, and they need dogs. I mean,
it's amazing what happens when you recruit the best JUCO defensive tackle and the best defensive or the best player in the state of Tennessee.
Good things start happening, guys. Am I the only one? Because believe me, you guys know I was a Woody fan. Like I was into him as a player. I thought he could make an impact, but I've seen Jordan Thomas. I feel like I've seen this story, and I'm scared to death because I saw Jordan Thomas play an incredible game against Texas once upon a time, and then the rest of his career was Jordan Thomas. And
there's no Gary Cooks.
Yes, I know. I want to believe, man, because I like Woody as a player. I think he can be really good, but man, it scares me. I've been burned by this before.
I think we all know there were the mentality of Jordan Thomas is a lot to do with why it didn't work out with him.
I think there's some off-field issues to work through.
Definitely, yeah.
And not all his.
No, it was a weird family.
There was a lot of weird
there.
dynamics.
Yeah.
I think
absolutely.
a lot of times, and this isn't just particular.
His dad disowned him on social media.
This isn't particular to Jordan Thomas,
no
but
secret.
it's like I think people forget that these kids, guys, adults, whatever you want to call them, young men, they have families, they have shit that's going on outside of football. I know the world doesn't like stop down for them just because they're playing Division I football.
If your family member disowned you on social media,
that's
just
going
to affect you.
It was weird. It was. I remember thinking how weird that was.
I mean, my dad could barely log on to social media, so I don't know.
Yeah, thank God that none of our parents.
This is a
could figure
very
that out.
weird area that we're getting into, but I think Woodi Washington right now seems like a guy. He made it through that LSU game without it killing his confidence, and now he's playing as high a level as anybody has played. You know, Trey Brown, Trey Norwood both played really well as freshmen.
Sure.
Trey Brown he had a great last game, but he's been a disappointment this year. Trey Norwood coming back from injury. He played a lot for Delarian Turner-Yell. They rotated a lot in that Texas game. I'm sure you'll see that continue. But the biggest thing this defense needs right now, they need Perrion Winfrey to keep stripping the ball. They need Isaiah Thomas to keep having strip sacks. They need Nick Bonitto to keep chasing down quarterbacks. They need Woodi Washington to pick off passes, in the end zone. They need playmakers, and they're starting to get more of that than they've had all season.
It's almost like I think Oklahoma fans have been through this, but there's a lot of sentiment that people are afraid to believe that they're going to turn this thing around because it's been year after year of poor defense. But for the first time, it does feel like they're matching some things up as far as recruiting well on the defensive side of the ball, bringing in guys that you think will be able to contribute to this defense. And now it's just you're scared that you've seen them make a couple plays. Like you're scared to
be let down again.
Yeah, are you scared to make that jump and actually believe that they can do it? And shit, for the same matter, there might be a lot of players that are having that mentality as well, and it might not just be the fans. As far as like, it's kind of like what Alex Grinch said, and it was one of the better lines I thought that he's come up with. It's like paraphrasing again, putting a little Eddie spin on it, but it's like we might f*** around and be good all of a sudden. Is basically what he was saying a week ago.
He just didn't say f***.
He didn't. He should have. I might tell him that next time I see him. You probably won't.
Never.
Yeah, you probably won't let me see him again until like 2023. It's like Gavin Newsom operates everything in Norman right now.
It's not Norman. It's everywhere. You can't go down on the field anywhere.
Okay.
You think Texas beat writers are having face to face with?
No, they're covering the Eyes of Texas is.
Wow.
I don't know if you've seen it this morning, but the new one, like that just went down within the last hour.
Well, no,
the band is now refusing to play it,
really?
So they're not going to play at home games.
Wow, I did not see this.
I missed this.
I've been talking to a buddy about this, and I think we've said it for the last couple years on this podcast, on radio, wherever. Like the biggest problem that Texas has, it might be far from the football field. There is 100%. Boosters, alumni, everything that's involved with that university. Everybody wants to be the big dick in the room and take credit for the turnaround when in reality they're so far off from actually being able to win football games on the field.
I mean,
end rant.
Agree more.
End
I have
rant.
nothing to add.
Because it's
kind of pathetic, really.
The one coach that they had was Mac Brown that knew how to work the system.
He knew how to glide handle, and he knew also how to win football games. But it also helps that they had generational talent, and Josh Bob. I mean, you'd be able to tell us better than anybody, but it's like Texas is still like I always had this mentality that Texas is going to get the Texas kids. They're going to get who they get, but now there are so many other options out there. And Texas just doesn't seem like they're that school anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's coming through an OU vision prism, if you will. I don't know.
That was impressive.
Did you like that?
Yeah.
Put that together by myself.
I don't think there's any. I mean,
sounds like something you do on acid.
Texas is always going to have guys. I mean, just always. And it's not that dissimilar from Oklahoma. I mean, like Oklahoma's always going to have guys, but Texas especially. Texas doesn't have to do anything special to have guys. That's why the kind of the legend of Mac Brown as a recruiter always baffled me. Like, I'm not saying he's not a good recruiter, but like, how hard is it to recruit to Texas? I mean, you got Tom Herman right now is reeled in multiple top 10 classes and hasn't done anything on the field save for one season. I mean, they've been wildly mediocre the rest of his time there. So, like I said, I just don't think that's as hard as everyone makes it out to be. But, you know, I still agree. I mean, you need a guy, and because somebody asked me about, you know, possible replacements in the board chat this week. You know, who if Texas couldn't get Urban Meyer, who, you know, all the Texas fans want to believe that's going to be their next coach or whatever if Herman is to go. Somebody brought up Mario Cristobal, and while I get it, I get the sentiment. I think he's a good coach, and I've been wrong about him. I thought he would flop at Oregon. He's done a nice job, but I don't think Mario Cristobal has any of that glad-handing, all shucks. Like, I don't think he has that in him. A guy like Graham Harrell, the OC at USC, that makes a lot of sense to me. He's got that Texas background. They're going to relate to him. They're going to like him. They're going to give him more slack just because of that. But at the same time, he's a really good coach, and I think he will bring an offense that can work in the Big 12 because everyone tried to make Tom Herman this offensive savant, and there's nothing in what we've seen so far that says he's anywhere close to that.
What do you think about Billy Napier?
I think that could be good. Napier feels like a guy that it would be interesting because one of the reasons I like Harrell is he's never had to run his own show.
Sure.
Like, so he could kind of, you know, like, I feel like he would grow into the role of needing to have credit, needing to have power, that kind of thing. Napier, I mean, he's run his own program. I'm sure he has built that exactly the way he wants to because he's had so much success. It would be interesting for him to have to go to Texas and be like, no, there's other mouths at the table. How would he handle that? It might be something he could absolutely navigate, and he's a guy that makes some sense, but I would wonder about that part.
Well, we just solved all your problems. Catch, give us a call.
Still got to develop the players when they get there, too.
Oh, no doubt.
They just don't do that.
It's kind of like the what's their running backs coach's name? Drayton.
Yeah,
Stan
Drayton.
Stan Drayton.
Yeah, it's like that graphic that he sent out the week before the OU Texas, or it might have even been a month before. You know, when they were making that last pitch to Kamar Wheaton or whatever, and the running back situation. Then you look at the box score from the OU game, and granted, OU's done a good job against the run this year, but you look at that box score and you take out Ehlinger. Obviously, what he have 130 on the ground or whatever, but I think they had like -5 yards combined between the three running backs. No development there.
I mean, Bijan Robinson's clearly the best running back
Sure,
they have.
No doubt about it.
If they waste him, that will just be criminal.
He's being wasted right now.
Do you say that with like the Grinch smile?
Guys, I did want to confirm I have talked to a source since the Logan Fano tweet. He is absolutely not in play for Oklahoma. I can say that with 100% certainty. So that is, people are going to read that on Twitter and get excited.
They missed out on another one, Josh, because they don't recruit the position.
I don't know why they won't work. Yeah, I mean, Clayton Smith, you got to live having that guy on your roster.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Yeah, he's a monster. He may be the only guy I go see twice this year just for fun. I was like, I've got a weekend late in the year where I don't really have anything I love. And so it's like, I might just go see Clayton Smith again just to watch him just destroy things.
I don't think that the Scoop HD offices would be complaining about that if it yields the same return as we had last time.
We should share, like, Eddie, you should have like a voter, like, approval kind of thing here, like where you get to rate what you see, because most guys I send video to Eddie and he's like, okay, I'll get on that, I'll cut that up. And I never hear anything else about it until basically it's done. And then there are certain guys like Clayton's he was like, damn, he's a dude. There are definitely guys where you can tell Eddie actually enjoys his job for a moment of cutting up all this damn video.
There's been some good, we've had a pretty good run of seeing kids this year. Yeah. And I don't know if that is just a direct reflection of what OU's doing in the 21 class or even the 22 class, like me and Bob went and saw Jacob Sexton last week. But, it's been... They're recruiting at a nice level of talent right now. We'll just say that.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into that. Bob, feel free to take over. I'll start us off here. But we've been rattling on for a while. We might as well get to some recruiting. But obviously the first thing coming up is Talon Shetron. And him planning to make an announcement this weekend. I believe that's public, right? I don't have to delete this, right?
Yeah, he tweeted it out.
He tweeted it out. So, Josh, let's start there. And, Bob, I'll let you kind of handle the recruiting portion from here on out.
Yeah, with talent, I mean, it's something where back in the spring, I've said it over and over again, I really thought Oklahoma State was where he was leaning. And then I saw him, and, Bob and Eddie were there with me, and I had a chance to catch up with him during the elite camp in Durant, of all places. And he was – he had a different manner in the way he was talking about Oklahoma. You could tell that Dennis Simmons had really started to build just a connection with him. He felt more comfortable with Oklahoma, felt more comfortable with the staff. And, had done all that in spite of the world of COVID, where he can't go visit, he can't go see anything. And I think as time has gone on, he just felt more comfortable, not only with the coaches, but like Jordan Mukes and he have developed a relationship. Last night when he tweeted out his commitment that he was going to commit on Saturday, Gentry Williams, had the eyeballs for him. So, there is more camaraderie starting to be built among some of these guys, especially in the state. And then you throw, with the relationships he has with the staff, with the school, some of the players that are already there. I really like where Oklahoma is here. I mean, we'll see, kind of what happens. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I mean, I've said it a couple times, guys, Dennis Simmons may have already locked down himself as one of the top 25 recruiters in the country for the class of 2022 in, October of 2020. It's amazing what they're doing at receiver right now.
Real quick, I feel like, and Bob, I'd like to hear what you say on this too, as far as everybody looks at the wide receivers that Oklahoma's recruiting, obviously Caleb Williams in the 21 class. There's so many reasons, even over the last 5 years, why people would want to come play at Oklahoma. But Riley gets a lot of credit, and rightfully so, but I feel like, and maybe it's just because I feel like this needs to be said every time, but it almost feels like the Dennis Simmons factor does get looked over a lot, as far as he's a major player in kind of this machine that they have down there right now.
I think he gets looked over until you talk to the kids.
Sure.
And then it becomes crystal clear that it, as much as everyone loves to paint the broad stroke of just saying it's Lincoln Riley's offense, everyone wants to be a part of that.
Right.
You learn that there's so many little details that Dennis Simmons brings to the table that then you add in that it's Riley's offense, and it makes it such a slam dunk. And it just seems so obvious that Simmons and Cale Gundy, they know who they're going after. We've talked about it with the defense with Alex Grinch, and now those guys know why they're going after a certain kid instead of just picking the best athlete and hoping they can make them into something. They know why they want him to be a Sooner, and I think that's what happens a lot with Simmons and Gundy. They know exactly where those guys fit, and it's just a lot easier sell job when you know, okay, dude, if you come here, this is what you're going to do, this is what you're going to produce, and here's where you can go from here.
Bob, I gave you carte blanche to take over.
Sorry, I jumped in and then I ruined the rhythm of it. Go ahead, Bob.
What Eddie D said he was looking for Josh to say something too. What I want to ask Josh though is, you look at the 2022 receiver class in the state of Texas, and we've talked about Armani Winfield, Caleb Burton, Evan Stewart. Is it possible OU gets none of them and nobody cares?
It's possible. It's absolutely possible. It's insane. I mean, guys, it's one of those things where when you can pull off one of these surprises, like we talked about a few weeks ago with Luther Burden to Oklahoma, when you can do that, it changes everything. I mean, because then Oklahoma can, they've already got Jordan Hudson. They've already got Luther Burden. They can go to the guys they're still focusing on, which at that point are, guys, we're talking about 2 or 3 guys, and they are some of the best receivers in the country. Talon Shetron, Caleb Burton, Evan Stewart, like you mentioned. Armani Winfield has become an afterthought, and he's a Rivals 100 guy. We're not talking about just some other guy. He's a great player. And then, you look around the country where Oklahoma at receiver can walk in any room they want to and have they could offer almost any kid in the country, and they're going to be in the top 5. Just flat out, it's going to happen. So, you look at that and what they're able to do, and the fact that they're doing all this and not relying on Texas, or getting Jordan Hudson, obviously a really good player from the DFW area, but not a lot of the names that everybody said, well, if Oklahoma's going to have a great 2022, they're going to have to land Caleb Burton, or they're going to have to land Evan Stewart or Armani or one of these guys. It's unlikely they're going to land any of those guys, and honestly, the one that I think we're going to have to see what happens, and again, this all assumes that Oklahoma lands Shetron, but if you assume that, it's going to be tight on Brennan Thompson. Like there's a chance that Oklahoma is going to have to make a choice between like Brennan Thompson and say Gavin Sawchuk or someone along those lines. There's going to be some skill position decisions Oklahoma's going to have to make, and I don't think it's because they wouldn't like to take them in a normal year. With these scholarship limits, or the way they've allowed a few extra and they're going to allow guys to really not count this year, people are having to make tough decisions. Arizona State dropped like 2 or 3 guys in the last week from their commitment list. Not just like we left their offer, like guys that were committed, they've washed their hands of because they just don't know if they can take them. And you're seeing a lot of that. Woke this morning has a lot on Oklahoma having to make some tough decisions on defense right now with linebacker recruiting and safety recruiting, and kind of if they can take any more at not just one position but either. So there's a lot to look at right now, and I think you're going to see that reflected in 2022. Oklahoma's going to have to make some choices, and really, even if they weren't recruiting as well as they were, still going to have to make these decisions about guys that they would love to take.
The thing that worries me about all of that is you're still talking 2022, kids that haven't taken visits yet. I don't know if they'll be able to take visits just like the 2021 class, but like the Jace McClellan factor, that worries me. Yep. Like if you have all these kids in Texas that all of a sudden don't get your priority, and I mean, I don't think Shetron's a guy you're worrying about, but you're worrying about guys outside the region or whatever. Like that's a little scary.
Oh, sure.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, OSU's not going to stop recruiting Talon Shetron if he commits to OU on Saturday.
Right.
And you've got guys, if you think for a second Ohio State and others are not still trying to get in with Luther Burden, don't kid yourself.
Sure.
They are going to be on that dude until he signs. Like that's just a fact. Now, some guys navigate that really well because, I mean, we said stuff like that about Mario Williams, and there's been nothing to indicate Mario Williams is at risk. Now, I think that's helped by the fact that he can't take trips. You can't go on a trip and fall in love.
And he wants to take trips badly.
Yes, he absolutely does. I mean, that in his case may be a huge break for Oklahoma. Like the fact that he committed early, got tight with Caleb, all those things, and now he's not going to go to Oregon or Florida or Alabama or any of those other places he could have visited, or Clemson, and he just, like they can't do anything to really outshine Oklahoma other than phone calls, and those are good, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to turn the tide.
Do you feel used by Mario Williams? Because you flew all the way out to see him, and he used your picture for like a week, and then he moved on to some other photographer.
He did, and Mario and I have talked about it, and, it's we think it's best if we just both go our own ways right now. We're not, we're not saying later.
Like two ships passing in the night.
Yeah. Like, I mean, this is, it could come back together later in the year, but just for right now, we think it's not the right time.
And Josh, who would you looking to try to see this weekend, and how impressed were you with what you saw from Devin last weekend?
This weekend should actually be pretty fun. Thursday night, I'm going to go see Billy Bowman and Denton Ryan play against Frisco Wakeland. So I'm going to see Billy Bowman, Jatavion Sanders. In the 2023 class, Oklahoma has offered Anthony Hill, the linebacker that I know Brian Odom really likes. Austin Jordan at defensive back is another guy that Oklahoma has offered in the class of 2022. So Denton Ryan has a bunch of dudes, and obviously I'm going to forget. Yeah, I almost forgot right? Bear Alexander in 2022, a possible 5-star that a lot of people kind of think Oklahoma may have snuck into the lead for right now. So I mean, you're talking about 5 guys on that defense alone that Oklahoma has offered. So it's going to be really interesting to watch. And like I said, with all the rumors and talk about Billy Bowman, and he and I have started to talk a little bit, starting to build a little little rapport with him. I can't wait to see him. I'm really anxious because the last time I saw him was as a sophomore, and he was a skinny sophomore kid that could run. And now you get to see him kind of a little farther along, see where he really is. And then on Friday, I'm going to make the trip out to Victoria, Texas, to watch a guy from Houston. So I'm making a 2.5-hour drive to see a guy I could see in about 30 minutes because that's just the way the schedule worked out best for me. This is what I'm doing for you people. I'm driving deep through the night. That Jesus.
Well, he does.
These are the members that
Harden.
don't understand. Yeah, I mean, guys, I don't live there for free. I mean, literally, that's expensive living next to the Harden family. So, but no, going to go see Remington Strickland, the new offensive line offer that I have been told. And I mentioned this in Scoop and a couple other places. Guys, he is not a connected thing to Tristan Lee or anybody else. This is a guy OU wants, just flat out wants him in the class. I think if Bird, Lee, and Foster all jumped in, I think Strickland would still have a spot. That's my general impression. So I think that is where they see him. It's my first chance to ever see him in person, so I'm really kind of interested in that. And to finish up what Bob had asked about, Devin Campbell had a chance to see him. 2022 Rivals 100 offensive lineman, got a chance to be a 5-star kid. He is off the charts talented. I mean, guys, we've talked before about Oklahoma offensive linemen that look big. They're just big guys. He's got some Cody Ford in him. That's just a big dude. Just a big kind of massive, big shoulders, big legs, big everything. But, man, you watch him move around. He's running with the running backs going down the field trying to pick up blocks and stuff. I mean, he is just unusually talented. And he's raw. I mean, there is I've got to finish up the story on him. But, I mean, there are things where you're like, I don't know how you're as good as you are doing some of the things you do, but that just tells you how gifted he is. I mean, he stands up too much. His hands aren't usually in the right place. He grabs a little too much. Some of these things, but he's so good and so athletic, it doesn't really matter. I mean, at the level he's playing. Now, obviously, when he gets to college, you have to clean up a lot of that stuff. But he is a special talent that I think absolutely has a chance to be a 5-star and maybe the number 1 guard in the country next year.
Is the Remington Strickland interest in, if they were to take all 4 of those guys, does that, I don't know, is it reading too much into it to think that they expect some guys to leave, like portal guys, or is it just you're trying to get back to a steady number at the offensive line position?
That offer coming down the week after OU Texas and the week after the rumors of Stacey Wilkins opting out and all that.
EJ Ndoma Ogar
for me. Yep. That is where I think that number would come from, Eddie. Okay. I think I don't think you're crazy. I think that's a dot to connect because, like I said, I can tell you flat out I have talked to people that are confident there is no connection. This is not a backup thing. He is a take.
And I think also it's going to be interesting, are coaches going to be over-recruiting until they find out what happens with the one-time transfer rule and what that does to scholarship numbers?
Yeah. This is, guys, we've talked about it a lot on the pod, but it felt like almost around college football. I mentioned Arizona State. This has been the week when I've heard more coaches talking about it. Now we're having to make some choices here. We're having to figure out some things that we hadn't really thought about. And this rule, is, and I'm sure you guys, in fact, I'm not just sure, I know you guys talked to Lincoln Riley a little bit about it, but it opens up a really interesting window that is both good and bad. I mean, there are, as Riley said, unintended consequences that you wonder how much players are going to be spending their time thinking about.
Well, you wonder if it starts to come like basketball, where Lon Kruger will intentionally leave a scholarship or 2 open for a grad transfer, just because that's how the world works now. You don't want to be full because you don't know when someone's going to open up, and you've got a great chance to get them.
I won't say I know this to be true, but based on a couple of conversations I had, I almost got an impression that maybe Riley had spoken with Kruger or something. There was, again, I want to be real clear. I'm not saying this happened, but just the way I'm being told it's going to be navigated, because that's exactly what I'm hearing Oklahoma would like to do, is come out of signing day with 2 or 3 spots open and see what's out there on the market.
All right. Anything else recruiting you wanted to jump on, Bob, before we get out?
I hope to see Kamar Wheaton, but I wonder if he's just going to be that one guy I never, ever get to see, no matter how many times I try.
Just go to his house. You don't even have to watch him play football. Take a football with you and just have him do some cone drills. I'm sure there's somebody in this market that would do that for somebody.
Take their kid.
Since I'll be in the area once again, going TCU Saturday, I'd love to try to catch a game Friday night, but it's just becoming just irritating, the bane of my existence. Good games are on Thursday, but not Friday. Friday ones, you're not sure if they're going to happen. But that's the goal, to try to see.
That's Bob bringing you this positive bit of news for the week.
Hey, let me ask you, Bob, real quick on the basketball side of things. What's the latest with Damian Collins?
It sounds about as good as it's ever sounded. I don't want people to think it's a lock for OU, but it seems like Kentucky is definitely looking at a lot of other kids. Even if they're not at Collins' position, it sounds like their focus is going more toward wanting to lock those kids up for the early signing period than it is for Damian. Now, they still haven't done like those final Zoom calls. I think we're maybe a week or two away from that going down. But after every Zoom, OU sources just feel incredibly confident that they continue to do all the right things, that they're pushing enough with not being too pushy, with having Bijan and CJ Nolan, try to convince them too. But that they feel that, when you look at the roster numbers, the front court numbers of what OU will have when Damian shows up compared to what Kentucky or Texas and how loaded those bigs are going to look like. You may think that you're basically saying you don't have a lot of depth. Shouldn't you be worried about that? But now it's one of your selling points, and it's just something that you tell Damian, hey, you come in here, you can be the guy right from the jump, no questions asked. And you can falter, you can fail, and we're going to stick with you. You do something at Kentucky, and you don't do very well the first month of the season, you might get over-recruited, you might get benched. You're going to have time to work out the kinks and become the player that you really want to be as long as you're in Norman.
Yeah, Ashley Judd might cut your throat if you miss a layup in Lexington. At least 50 people will see it at the Lloyd Noble Center.
Socially distanced crowd, Eddie. That's been the excuse for the last few years.
Yeah, they've been doing that. They've been doing that for 15 years down at LNC.
Retroactive now.
Just like Mike Stoops and his defensive backs.
Mike Stoops hasn't lost a game this year, in fact.
He became a better analyst last week, didn't he?
I think everybody did. Butch Jones. Do you think Mike Stoops gets to put in an order for Butch Jones to pick it up? Because Saban basically said that Butch Jones is basically his personal assistant. Do you think Mike gets to put it in an order to Starbucks, or does he have to do it on his own? Something to think about for the rest of the week.
Does Butch go and get his coffee for him?
Yeah.
To be fair, that's pretty much what Butch was doing at Tennessee.
Oh, that's true.
Pretty much just being Saban's ball boy.
That's true.
And yelling at Eric Stryker.
That did happen. Fact. That did happen.
Speaking of guys,
life.
Little Crimson Corner, clean up on aisle Crimson Corner. Has there been a lot of Pete Golding apologies? Hey, maybe we had this wrong. Maybe Golding wasn't the fix to all of our problems.
I haven't seen it.
Not since halftime of the Georgia game.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. Just wondering. And that's not a diss at everybody, because I thought Golding was going to be really good, but that was going to be the dude.
Look, I mean, anybody wanted anyone, just different.
Yes,
it didn't matter. Yep. I don't want to. I'm not going to keep score on that deal. There were a lot of choices, and any of them would have been better than Mike Stoops for the fan base. So,
There he goes again, sticking
People
up for
were-
Mike.
Carrie's gonna edit in some.
How is that
He
sticking up for Mike?
He said
I'm
the fan
basically
base.
saying anything would have been better for the fans.
Did you guys hear
Listen,
that?
I
There's
am-
going to be some Sarah McLachlan played in the post production of this. It's going to play right after that little comment.
That's not true. You
He's grabbing for.
you.
He's already
All
grabbing
right.
for the Hard Rock tequila, which I brought over. Hey, we support the Stoops family on this podcast. We don't take shots at them like some other people in the business.
Josh, I will let you go so you can finish buying Daryl Morey's house so you can raise both your homes and build your super mansion.
It's going to be beautiful. The McLeans, they live down on the kind of ghetto side of the street. We don't talk to them much.
How many trash cans they have outside?
Only 4. They're a bunch of poors.
They beat them all the same.
All right. I don't think that we're missing anything major here. It's been a good podcast, boys.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
glad
it's
to
good.
have some football back this weekend, other
be.
than that shit that we had to watch last weekend.
I'm definitely interested in seeing what the Big 12 produces this week. It should be kind of interesting because I think Kansas State has kind of eliminated themselves in a really messed up way. I don't think that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what Will Howard has.
Here's the thing: is
he looked good in Fort Worth.
You kind of have to root for OSU this weekend.
What is the best possible outcome? I almost think just Iowa State running the table and hoping OSU loses a couple games would be the best way for an OU fan. I truly don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Iowa State,
But you need Iowa State to have, 2 to 3 losses.
you want Iowa State to win out, Kansas State to lose 3 games, and then OSU to lose 2 games, and one of those games being
and
this
as long
weekend.
as you beat
and-
Iowa State and OSU, you're fine.
well, they can't beat Iowa State
Well, that's
unless
what
they
I'm
ask
saying.
for a rematch.
Yeah,
at
well,
Harv
beat
Collins.
OSU, you're fine
Okay.
as long as they have 2 losses.
Yes.
But if they beat Iowa State, that might put you in a 3-way, which sometimes is good, but not in this case.
Yeah, I just don't see them. I don't know. Be kind of, I don't know, maybe just flip a coin and then hope for something.
It's too early to start thinking about how tiebreakers are going to work out, isn't it?
It's never too early, but yes, for me it is.
For me, it definitely is. Anyway. All right. I appreciate the contributions, gentlemen. Bob, appreciate you getting out of child labor camp to come join us once again. Thank
Get any
you.
cool Sports Illustrated gear while you were there? What?
I think
I thought they were handing out those supplements and
I
stuff.
think the thing with Sports Illustrated is that you say you work there when you actually don't. That's how that works now.
Wow, it's getting ferocious.
Anyway, thank you for listening. Thanks to Dead Soxy, our sponsor for the pod. Go check them out. Remember to use that code BOOMER at the checkout for 30% off your order. Great socks. Everybody go and check those out. DeadSoxy.com, DeadSoxy.com. And thanks to Josh, thanks to Eddie, thanks to Bob, and we'll see you guys back here after TCU. Actually, Eddie and I will be here for the pod, and we'll see if Bob can join us for a little bit for the post game. So check out your any podcast provider for the Sooner Scoop post game podcast from Eskridge Lexus. We'll be back for that, and then we'll be back again next week for the Unofficial 40 podcast right here on Soonerscoop.com.